The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all having a great Wednesday. This is Virginia Suter, and I have very happy to introduce our own Brian Donahue to talk about the Communications Vice President. Brian, it's all you.
Wow, what a kind and gracious introduction. Thank you so much, Virginia. My name, as you know, is Brian Donahue. For everyone who's here tonight, I'm sure I know some of you. I can't see your faces, so I don't know. But if I do, please raise your hand so I can high-five you virtually. And today we're going to talk about the Communications Vice President position. This is a position that's probably new at your chapter, or maybe you don't even have it yet. Maybe some of you are Communications Vice Presidents, or some of you are presidents or other leaders, or just members interested in what this position is all about. Although the position has very specific details that I can reveal throughout the presentation, what I really want to focus on mostly with you tonight is how important it is to communicate, but not just communicate, but connect. And this is about message-based communications. And that is really the goal of the Communications Vice President, why we created this position, why we really strongly encourage it at every chapter in the country, because we have a lot of positions that are geared towards creating events, towards creating things happen, towards what I call doers. And the Communications Vice President, although they do some content creation, although they do, most of it is about thinking, about shaping, about seeing what other people do in your chapter and making it look great to a different audience. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, and what you can do as Communications Vice Presidents to really show what your chapter's message is to the rest of the world. So this is the overview today. I'm going to go over a couple of the roles and different kind of methods that the CDP can use to really reach out to the public and to every other audience that we're going to be engaging with. I put out a picture on the side of one of my favorite leadership authors. If you haven't read a book by John Maxwell, I do recommend you pick one up. This one specifically, very important to me. One of the big reasons we even came out with the Communications Vice President position is reading this book by John Maxwell, and that everyone communicates, few connect. There's tons of people who go out on Facebook, social media, send out emails, what have you. And as long as they get it done, they think that's the job. But the point is, we aren't thinking about, are we reaching our audience? We don't think about it from their perspective. And that's really the job of the CDP. So what is the CDP? The CDP is not a writer, but a storyteller. Yes, you'll create some content, but just writing something isn't what's going to show your chapter's message. You have to see the stories within your chapter. Maybe you aren't even the one who ends up writing the story. Maybe you have a committee that creates content for social media, or you have the person themselves that you see has done something awesome in your chapter. Maybe they write an article for Student Pharmacist Magazine, but you're the one who reaches out to them and brings this opportunity to them. Not a reporter, but a connector. So it's easy to see what your chapter does and report it to the rest of the world, but it's very difficult to find the ways to connect your chapter members with the rest of the world, meaning that they feel that they know their audience and that the audience feels like they know what your chapter really is about and what their message is and what it means. Not an expert, but a resource. I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm sure that everybody out there, if you're a Communications Vice President, has some level of expertise, be it in social media or I tweet a lot, one of the few. But that's not the main role as Communications Vice President. You want to be a resource. It's not that I'm the expert, let me handle all the communications duties. You want to be the person that every leader and member in your can go to learn how to spread their message better and to use their own voice. So that's the big point that I want to make today is you're not the voice of the chapter, you're the guide. You're not the one who would create, this is what we're about and this is what I've decided strategically that will work. You're the guide of everyone else's voice to unite them to make a collective voice. So take this to heart, now or never. That is what the CDP position really is about. And if it's something that you're interested in and not a CDP, I hope that you can make this an important position at your chapter. If you are a CDP, I hope you take this to heart and use it during the year. So help your chapter become three things I want to talk about. Creative. So again, not enough to just be there. Creative in the content we write that it's diverse, that it's different, that it reaches out, that it speaks to different audiences in the delivery. Where are we putting our messages? Not just one place, not just maybe Facebook, but we're reaching out and asking to write articles, or maybe that we are putting different kinds of using different kinds of social media resources and pictures and photos and stories and quotes and all of these different things that we can utilize to make our chapter seem creative and to really appeal to our audiences. Although creative sometimes means that you don't have to have a set, one method that you do everything, we still need to be consistent in our style and frequency. That is because we have a lot of voices in our chapters. We have a lot of voices throughout the country with many chapters, but we need to seem consistent. We need to use our different voices that say different great things for the same cause. So we try to be consistent in the style and the frequency and make sure it's informed. We want to make sure that we are informing our chapter of the latest initiatives nationally, what we're trying to accomplish as a team nationally with our other APhA-ASP chapters. We don't want to be behind, because that's how our men back at home end up not feeling like they're a part of something bigger. So most of all, help your chapter spread the message. Always think of the message first. It's not enough just to write a social media post or write an email or speak to someone at a chapter meeting and report what the deadlines are, the reminders are. Make sure that it's always message-based, and I'm going to show you some great examples later. One of the first things I always like to start off with is talking about the collective voice. If you know the APhA-ASP mission, you know it starts with that APhA-ASP. The mission of APhA-ASP is to be the collective voice of student pharmacists. It's our tendency, I think, to think of collective as multiple, as a plural, as we have all these different voices, and we've got to make sure that everybody's heard. This is in one way true, but think of collective as a singular term. It is really a lot of voices acting as one. So if you're in a choir or whatever, all the voices, they may have different ranges, they may sound different, they may have different styles, but they have to be in tune with each other. They have to be in harmony for it to have to make it sound right to the audience. Otherwise, it's going to sound terrible. It's going to hit them in the ear, and they're not going to want to listen. And that's what we really got to do, and that's why we have CDPs now at the chapters, to make sure that across the country, that across our own chapter, with all these great, wonderful different voices that have different things to say, different ways to inspire other people, different methods of reaching out and different messages, that we're all uniting it and working towards one singular goal. And that's how we can be a collective voice as a nation. One of the ways we do that, just to get the style guide out of the way, I always say the communication style guide is something that some chapters don't like to follow, some chapters think is just rules for the heck of it. It really isn't, and largely because we are trying to get our message heard over and over again in different ways, in different chapters having different levels of success, but that when the public sees it, or when it's spread nationally, or when we do something wonderful, that everybody can tie it to APhA-ASP, the one big team that we are together. So, for example, everybody knows that in pharmacy, alphabet soup, there's every acronym in the world that we have to try to learn when we get into pharmacy school, the different organizations. I can't even keep track of them. APhA-ASP itself, we have APHA out there, we have ASP out there, APhA-ASAP. Everybody's saying everything. Why we say APhA-ASP is because we do want to connect ourselves to the bigger initiative of the American Pharmacists Association. We are an academy. We are the biggest academy in the American Pharmacists Association. We play a major role in pushing their initiatives nationally and among student pharmacists. But that's why we put the APhA-ASP together. And so we see throughout the country, we may know the difference of, oh yeah, ASP means the same thing as APHA. But if we're calling ourselves different things, that we're not going to look together, we're not going to look like a team together to the public, to the people that are hearing our messages. So one of the big reasons we do that is the communication style guide. It's found on pharmacist.com. We have a lot of different things that we ask that we use in terms of, I'll show you this right now. Why join ASP? This is, anybody know the communication style guide, your brain's already going off. It's looking at these different sentences where we would change something. Meet fellow P1 pharmacy students, travel to national meetings, regional leadership opportunities such as regional member at larges, That's my favorite. I wish I called myself the member at large, but unfortunately we don't allow that. Here's what it is corrected. And the big reason, this may seem petty to some people who use both terms interchangeably, but understand, meet fellow first-year student pharmacists. The reason why we do that is because, believe it or not every school utilizes the term P1, P2, P3. Some schools are 3-year schools. Some schools are 6-year schools. So you're hearing P6, people are losing their minds. They don't know what's going on. So we say first-year student pharmacists, and we say student pharmacists to really put the emphasis on pharmacists, that we're not just students, we can really make a difference and help right now. But we use first year so that it doesn't hit anybody the wrong way, that it doesn't ever reach another member somewhere across the country and they don't know what we're talking about. Travel to the APhA annual meeting and exposition so that we have that brand. National meeting, that could be any meeting. APhA annual meeting and exposition, that's ours. And obviously the regional members at large, and then the national members at large, if you're talking about me and Mags. So CDP has a tough dual role because you have to communicate to not only 2 different completely directions, bidirectionally, out and in, but also there's tons of different audiences. For example, the public or or other chapters that you're trying to reach, or legislators. These take different approaches. And it's the same thing going inwards at your school, talking to your chapter and the faculty advisors. The CDP's job is not just to be the person who speaks to everyone, but to help all your chapter leaders be able to communicate effectively, to connect with all these different audiences in different ways. So communicating out. When I'm talking about communicating out, I mean spreading our message outward, that we are trying to show the rest of the world, whatever audience that we're trying to engage in that moment, what we're all about, that we're trying to send them a message. We have to be creative, not just to show up, make it impactful. I see tons of Facebook pages popping up now, which is amazing, from chapters all throughout the country, and they're doing things and making posts and stories and showing stories that hit me and that I share nationally. And if you've seen on the national page, we've shared a lot of these stories lately because people are being creative. They're sharing stories in a creative way that makes people want to read it, be consistent, and be informed, like we were talking about earlier. One of the big social media resources that we utilize is obviously Facebook. Facebook, you might have heard, is not exactly the coolest place to be anymore, but it still is where everyone is. This is our news source. It may not be hip. I may not ask you, are you on the book? Let's talk. But everybody's still seeing the news on Facebook. That's where we all can see each other. It's where the most followers are on any social media site. So it is a place that we always recommend that if you're going to start somewhere, start on Facebook. I know people have groups and pages. If we're talking about outwards, that's really your page. That's where you would work as the CDP. Either you create content or you have a committee that you oversee what they create, that you're going to really set the tone for this page to spread your message outward. So this is, you speak on behalf of the organization as a whole, not as an individual and to your organization, but as that third party. I'm the chapter sending my message. Want to use diverse posts. I highlight pictures because statistically, pictures are the #1 type of post that gets engagement. A picture is worth 1,000 words, they say, and Lord knows if you've looked at the Facebook, I try to write 1,000 words. Most posts, statistics show that doesn't work. A picture is a great alternative. So use pictures in your post, and use pictures at events, wherever. Just be smart about what you're taking photographs of. I really encourage you to use pictures. Quotes, anecdotes. I wish reminders rhymed with anecdotes. It doesn't. But make sure that these all have a message base. Don't just throw out an inspirational quote that means nothing. Tie it to something in the chapter mission. Tie it to something that you're doing. If your president said a great line during a chapter meeting, write that down. Then post it. It really reinforces that message. Help reinforce what your chapter is all about. That's really what communicating and connecting is finding the crux of what you're trying to get across and then amplifying that. And that's really sharing the best stories. That's what it's all about. So reach all the audiences, but not all at the same time. We'll talk about that in a second. Recognize other chapters. Tons of chapters on social media. Really look out to them. Try to find what they're doing that works. And if you see them make a great post, share that. Share that so it inspires your own members and that it can be seen by the public in your community, by other chapters who wouldn't have looked at maybe that Facebook page, but we'll look at yours. This is really a big part of the social media focus, is reaching out and recognizing others, and that's really what gets you to connect. And use your insights. I say insights, and I mean specifically the Facebook insights. If you are the CDP right now and you run the Facebook page, make sure you utilize the tab that's called Insights. These are statistics that Facebook puts together for you that'll tell you who's looking at your page, how often they're looking at your page, what time they're looking at your page, how many clicked on your post, either click see more, how many viewed the photo. It's really, really important analytics that can really help you focus in on what works, what doesn't. And Insights is very complicated. Of course, if you ever have any questions of how to utilize this best, you can always communicate me or the Communications Standing Committee. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. Some Facebook tips real quick, because this is the big, I think, source that a lot of chapters are starting with, and I highly recommend that. One of the things we want to do, use language appropriate for all audiences, but don't make every post for everyone. What I mean by this is that you don't have to make every post appeal to every single audience that you want to reach, because the likelihood is you want to reach a lot of different audiences. That being said, just because you post, say, this is something that I want my chapter to really grasp, you still have to make it appropriate for, say, your mother to look at if you're not posting a mother post at the moment. So make sure that it's something that's okay for everyone to see, but you can focus it towards a specific audience if you really want that specific post to engage with an audience. Post at times that make sense, but post at the same time every day. And what I mean by post at times that make sense, it seems like common sense, but I see it all the time, is that you'll see a chapter post, at their time, midnight, which is just, it's not going to reach a lot of people. Facebook has a very complex algorithm that makes your posts show up on news feeds, and it means they have to be engaged with. It has to be liked. It has to be seen. And that won't happen, obviously, too much at midnight. Insights, take a look. It'll tell you what time your viewers are online, what times are the best to post. You don't want to post at the same time every day, because different days are going to have different peaks. On a Friday, for example, we're student pharmacists. When we get home on a Friday, most of us pass out, or we just want to go do something fun. Maybe we don't want to look at the computer for another hour. So it actually, where every other night, the weekday night, is going to peak around, the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock for, say, my APhA-ASP national page. On Friday, that is when it dips. I have to always post a little bit earlier on Friday. So make it strategic. Keep your posts readable. Don't, make 1,000-word posts, but don't refuse to be flexible either. I don't want you to set a rule that it must be this many lines if you see something great. Use your common sense. You want to keep it brief in some respects because that's what gets people to read posts. But if you post something great, you really have an awesome, say, story by a chapter member and a great picture to go along with it, people are going to read that. So just use that common sense. Use photos we talked about. Don't use generic photos. So don't just put a stock photo and say, look, I did a picture. It should work. No. You want to have something that's engaging, that shows, that puts people in the action, that puts them in the moment. Share other chapters' posts, but don't like your own posts. This is a specific kind of issue that happens a lot. A good tip to remember is that the admins of Facebook pages often will like their own posts on their chapter page, which is okay as long as they switch to themselves first, because otherwise it kind of looks a little bit cocky, because it just says, if I was like APhA-ASP likes APhA-ASP status, it looks a little silly. So be cognizant of that when you're liking your statuses. It's okay if you say this is a great status and I like it even though I posted it. Go on your own profile and like it. That's fine. Nobody would ever know. But don't like it as the person who posted it, because it does end up a little goofy. Do recognize members. Don't only hit the highlights. And what I mean by this is members deserve to be recognized that aren't just winning awards, that aren't just winning elections. There are people doing unbelievable, great things every day. And those are the real things that chapter members throughout the country feel are tangible. Because, yes, they're proud of someone who wins a national award. That's awesome. But even if they can, in reality, not every member starts out thinking they can. Start with the members who do unbelievable things. The CDP should be the main point of looking at the chapter on the bigger picture and seeing where people are really making a difference in the small ways. If you have a committee, definitely keep an eye out for these types of people and recognize that. That is what's really going to empower the rest of your members who may not inherently connect with the position or a leadership position or a big award. They may not see it even if they do admire it. Give them something that they feel like they can do, that's reproducible to them. I want to show, I don't know if they're here tonight, University of Houston, but I want to show a great example. University of Houston does a great job on their Facebook page. We have a lot of great Facebook pages, but University of Houston specifically does real well. You see they have a great cover photo here, an APhA created Facebook photo. They have the APhA-ASP, the correct name and everything like that. They do a great job. And here's one that they posted a chapter. You see how the language is a little different, but it's not exactly, it's not unprofessional at all. So, they want you to get pumped up. We got some news for you. They're very excited about this news. They're positive. They're upbeat. You see how they end with this. I love it. Please comment, not just like, but if you like me, that's cool too. It's a cool, harmless, funny aside that speaks to your chapter like, hey, I'm one of you, but it still is the source of information. It's not unprofessional. It's not, I'm actually a chapter member who's posting as APhA-ASP University of Houston. It's University of Houston just speaking on their level, connecting with each other, but still maintaining that identity of the chapter as a whole. I think that's great. Here's to the public. You see how their tone changes. And so all of a sudden, they're capitalizing everything. Everything's working out well. You see the exclamation point, 1, 2. They have a great one-liner, impacting the community one event at a time. That's awesome. And then they hashtag you up. You don't have to use hashtags, but if you do, this is the kinds you want to use. They're great. They're using the terms that we're all familiar with, that we can connect with, but also including an organization outside of APhA-ASP in that collaboration. This is an awesome job. Presenting opportunities. They look for the opportunities that will help their chapter members. So this was our financial planning webinar. It was an unbelievable webinar. I thought it was done extremely well. You see this was a brief post. They capitalize tomorrow, so you can immediately, your eyes go to the time. They start with a nice little question that living on loans getting you down. What's this about? APhA-ASP, talking about loans. And then they come up with the link, and they use the correct picture. This is a great job of reaching out and showing your chapter members what opportunities are available. Connecting with the chapter. Now, I don't want to be revealing any awards, but Houston's going to win exclamation point chapter of the year because, boom, 4 sentences in a row, exclamation point. These guys are excited about MRM. This is awesome. It shows the link. It's very neat. It's very brief. So it really is something that you can take one good look at and get the picture. They're going to represent Houston with spice and fun. I mean, that's a different way to do it, but that's something that really speaks to their chapter and really shows that Houston's excited about getting out there and really making a difference and reaching out to the other chapters in the region. I think this is awesome. And finally, sharing the message. Something serious. Want to make your voice heard about provider status for pharmacists? Sign here and share. And they share that pharmacists provide care. They're looking at the national initiatives. They're getting their chapter members involved in these national initiatives. This is how they feel part of the bigger team. So they can use the tone that is, I'm talking to my chapter members as a, one-on-one level, but then they can use those national initiatives that other maybe legislators, maybe the public look into, and we can see that, and that can interest us too. So I think this is a fantastic job by Houston. Moving over to Twitter, because you'll be working a lot with Twitter too, a lot of chapters already on it. For me, Twitter is different than Facebook in its awesome opportunity to be immediately interactive. So you can retweet so easily other chapters, your own chapter members when they post something great. I say literally anything else, and I mean if you see a company that posts a great motivational quote, do it, but not anything. Be appropriate. I think we all know that, right? It's a great source to interact. If you see somebody talking about APhA-ASP or saying something good about pharmacy, even if you don't know them, if they're in your community and you've done a search for a pharmacy term, which you can do. You can search on Twitter and see anybody in your area or anybody in the world that is talking about a specific subject. you can interact with them, get in on the conversation as long as it's positive and it's in line with the initiatives at your chapter. Be personable, professional, creative as always. I want to show one chapter, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, that they're new on the Twitter scene, they're new on Facebook scene, they do a great job there too, but these guys are doing really remarkable things that deserve follow. They use Twitter really well. Recognize a member, Deborah. She may not be here tonight, but if anybody knows Deborah, I want you to know that she is the best. I know this now because of UMES posting this. You see, not only do they do that, but they have her with a little biography. Why did you join APHA? Where do you go to undergrad? They got some fun facts. They cut off. The slide wasn't big enough, but that's all right for today. I know Deborah Sarmiento now, and I know how well she's doing, and she's the very first APhA-ASP member of the month at their chapter. That's going to go down in history. This is something that's really exciting for members, for you to reach out, to be recognized in that way. But they don't just recognize members. They also recognize other things that are going on in the school. So a good CDP is keeping their eye on the bigger picture. They're recognizing other organizations at their school that are doing great things for pharmacy, because that's what we care about in APhA-ASP, is wherever you are. If you're doing great things for pharmacy, you're doing great things for us too. So we're talking about Dr. Boyle here being appointed as interim dean. UMES at APhA-ASP, they recognize that. So you can be really a beacon of positivity that other people in the public, your chapter members, other students at your school can say, no matter what else is going on, every time I see something from APhA-ASP, they're positive, they're upbeat, they're always recognizing each other. At some point, if you keep believing in that process, you don't even have to sell yourself because you're living it. You're actually doing it every day. You don't have to say APhA-ASP is a great place to be, because it gets obvious if you're being consistent, if you're being out there and you're being positive and doing great things. Building excitement. This has got to be the earliest use of hashtag APHA 2015. Another great way to really make a really huge event have the excitement that it deserves, because this is an event that sometimes doesn't come up till much later in the year for us. But they're saying from the very beginning of the year, this is the goal. This is we're going to advance as one, and we're going to go to San Diego and save the date today, because that's how much it's worth. It is really worth that excitement, and that's how you really, start building these things. We always ask these questions like, how do I get my chapter members excited? Be excited as the CDP. Tell your chapter executives, yourself, create content that is excited about these events that mean so much to us, and eventually it will trickle down to your chapter members. This might be my favorite message of all, because here's something about the chapter reports that so many chapters, and understandably, will be like, my goodness, I have to do the chapter reports now, my word. UMES talks about it and doesn't say one negative thing. I mean, they could not be more excited. This 10 days of the chapter reports are due, and what does that mean to them? What is the message? Because we can always find the message, and that is the CDP's job, is to look at maybe the simplest of things on the surface. Chapter report is papers that we have to fill out and mail in, and because we just have to. We're told we have to. But they look at it and say, no, that is the sign of the end of the year. This is the culmination of all the great things we did. It's the recording of the amazing things we did. And this is how we get recognized for that. And this is how that we can spread the ideas and the initiatives from our chapter abroad and into the national side, because this is the end. This is the marking end of a great year. And let's prepare for another phenomenal one. I think that's an awesome, awesome message. So great job to both those chapters. Instagram is something new on the national end. I know a lot of chapters and students are doing it already, which is awesome, because statistically, Instagram is definitely the most engaged. If you have a committee that works on Instagram, don't just pick someone with a camera. Look for someone who, again, is a storyteller. Always be looking at that if you're finding positions to be on your committee that work in different social media sites or even in photography. Find the people who are storytellers, not just someone who's been on that site before. Instagram is a great opportunity. Of course, you always want to follow the law. Don't post pictures of patients who you haven't had permission or written consent for. Keep it about your members, but share the pictures that are in the moment, and I think Instagram is great for that. Spreading your chapter's voice. All in all, the CDP has a tough kind of dichotomy, because not only, like Nick Capote, our president, has challenged us to find your voice. Yes, you got to find your voice, but then the CDP's job really is to help others find their voice too, and to help it become louder, to amplify that voice. Don't miss a moment. That's what you and anybody working for you as communications vice president in your committee is really got to be focused on, is not missing moments. In pharmacy, we have great stories going on every day, but sometimes we're so focused on what we're doing that we don't see the story, the message, and so we're actually missing every great, really, opportunity to show the rest of the world what we do, and then we wonder why they don't know what we do. CVP is the one who catches them all. Their committees and their executive committee as a resource to catch these all. You keep your PR department in the loop. If you're doing something great as a chapter, tell your school's PR department. Maybe they share something, maybe they don't, but it's amazing that how much can be accomplished if someone just thinks to reach out. And keep your eye out for the stories. Recognize what stories could inspire others, and then share them. Or send them to us on the national side. We'll post them. If you think something great can really reach others nationally, send it to me on Facebook. Talk to Tom English or talk to one of us in the Communications Stand Committee if you say there's a member at my chapter that needs to write a story for Student Pharmacist Magazine. We can help you be heard. As long as you're helping your members be heard, we're always willing to be there for you. Delegate. Here's something that is tough for a lot of us type A student pharmacists and a lot of us who are used to doing things ourselves, and sometimes we run purposes because we think we are the best at that. But if you are doing it all alone as the communications vice president, we really aren't doing enough, and we're not really doing it right, because our job is to be a guide. Our job is to empower others. So you might not be creating all the content. It's not that you can't create content for, say, social media, but find other chapter members that are great at sharing these stories, empower them. There's very few better ways to get people to feel involved and to give them the responsibility to look after others, to say, look at the chapter event, see when people are doing great things, and that's your job for me, is to find those stories, and let's help shape this message. If you have a website, have a website chair and a committee under that, not someone who's, I took one class of code, but again, someone who's really dedicated to having correct, up-to-date information, who really is invested in that history of the chapter and how it can spread, to chapter members in the future of what we've done, and to see what you guys can improve upon. Photography, again, you don't need to be a great photographer. You just need an eye for the story. So these are different committees that you could create as a CVP in your chapter. The key point of communicating out for all of this is I want you to think in this order. This is the CVP's order. Think first as who you represent, and you represent a lot of people. It might be more specific in different kinds of posts or different kinds of communications, but you're always representing your chapter. You're always representing APhA-ASP as a whole. You're always representing pharmacy. This is something that is very difficult, and understandably so, for student pharmacists to really remember all the time. The CVP is the one who takes all the communications, and then in their committee takes all the communications coming out from the chapter and shapes it and helps others learn how to shape their message. Think of your audience. If you're writing for a specific audience, think about what they would actually want to hear. Don't think about, I like this. This makes sense to me. That is perfectly fine for most people, but as a communications vice president, your job is to connect. So your first thought is, what would matter to them? If I'm trying to reach legislators, what do they want to hear? If I'm trying to reach the general public, am I going to use all these fancy pharmacy terms? If I'm trying to reach my chapter members, am I just going to do another deadline reminder that looks the exact same as every email we delete because we get 30 of them a day? Think about it from that strategic standpoint. It's not easy, and that's why we have our entire position for it. Think of you as the person. Now, this looks a little confusing because the person before the professional, but I do mean this. I doubt you're a very nasty person if you're such a good leader and student at APhA-ASP, but think of when you're posting social media posts or you're helping someone create some level of communication, be it an email, be it a speech, you're helping your chapter president come up with a presentation they're going to do during a chapter meeting. Think of you as the person. It is very common for us to think of ourselves as the professional first. So I will, in real life, just pass by post after post after post on social media that's talking about maybe a really good cause. But when all of a sudden we're doing it, when we're creating it, we will see that and say it's a good cause. Everybody in the world should view that because it's a good cause. I think so. They also will think so. That's not the way it works logically. That's not the way it works pragmatically in real life. Think of yourself as the person. Think of yourself with your laptop on your chest at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. You're tired. What is going to make you stop on your newsfeed? Yes, that may be a really nice message, but it's a block of text. It's really long. There's no picture. There's no nothing. I'm guaranteeing you, you're probably going to pass it by, even if it was the secret to life. Think of yourself as a person first, of what could make you stop and want to see more. And then think of yourself as a professional. If for any reason that you as the person would have laughed at something that maybe isn't good to post as a chapter, that's where you catch it and correct it. But you still want to think of yourself as the person first, because it's no point in being professional if nobody looks at it. So think of what someone would look at and ensure that it's of a professional style and level, and that's how the order we should really work as CDPs. Communicating in. So this is a little bit quicker than communicating out, but we know one of the great reasons we started this position is because how many times we hear, I'm having trouble reaching my chapter members. I'm having trouble, they're not hearing me. It's kind of what I just was saying. Is a lot of times we will say what we've come up, an idea we've come up with as a chapter leader, that if we were in the other people's shoes, maybe wouldn't knock us off our feet. But as the chapter leader who's put so much time and who's created it, we feel this great passion. The trick is we don't have anybody capturing that passion in a way that speaks to the audience. And that's what we expect to happen almost naturally. The CDP is there to find a way to encapsulate that passion, be it in a photo, or in a quote, or in something inspirational, some sort of post that would speak to them in a way that really encapsulates that or catches that passion in a small amount, which is a very tricky thing to do, because another person's internal passion is very difficult to capture in a way that you can really spread it in a way that everybody else feels what you're feeling. But it's possible, and it all starts with message-based communications, and that's where we can come in. And being a resource for our executive board members or our patient care project chairs, and working with them, or our different policy initiatives. That's the big one right now. How do I get my chapter members to believe in provider status or want to work for it? Well, maybe we've been doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe we have to have somebody think, how can we do this creatively in a way that people will connect with? I bring up the book again because it's a little different when you're talking in. It's okay to use your page to go to your chapter members as long as you don't act like it's your group. Remember, a group is now on Facebook is like a group chat, and that's all internal communication. It's okay to post a reminder or an update from the local level, what's going on in your community, because that might interest your community too. What's going on the regional level, that might speak to other chapters, that might speak to your public, the public being like they're doing these things on a national level, a regional level, and the national level. On the national level, updates of what are we doing, what are the national initiatives. If you see that we're posting something on the Facebook page, APhA-ASP, the national Facebook page, share that on your chapter page to show that your members all the opportunities, like these webinars right now. We posted one for every day. When you see types of these opportunities, don't think about it. CDP is not going to just think about it as, well, I care about the CDP webinar, so that's the one that caught my eye. You see every webinar, and you're thinking of your members of who could benefit from this, and if they can benefit from this. You don't have to post everything from the national page. If you see something and saying, Brian didn't really do a good job posting that, that seems a little silly, don't post it. Do things that will reach your community and the audiences you want to reach. And then professional. What's going on with the profession? What is APhA doing nationally? What are other pharmacy organizations doing nationally? What's a big development pharmacy? Anything that can capture your chapter's interest, to keep them engaged, to keep them coming back, to keep them believing in you as a news source that matters. These are the kind of things we want to see. But you've got to be thinking with that strategy mind, not just, I post twice a day, I need to find something. It is better to post nothing if you're going to post something just generic. And that's what the CDP is here, to really ensure that every communication inwards, outwards is message-based and useful. Stay upbeat, creative like always, personal but professional. And then Insights works for these as well, because Facebook Insights gives statistics on individual posts, what worked. Look at the ones that were specified towards your chapters. Yes, I made this great update. I posted on the Facebook page. You should have seen it. Well, Facebook will tell you if people saw it, and if they didn't, maybe it's on us. Maybe we didn't post at the right time. Maybe we didn't make it creative enough. Maybe we should have attached the reminder to a picture. That really helps, believe it or not. I mean, you can post something that people would think is boring. If you post it with something exciting or another quote or just make it a little bit fun, it can change the entire way that your chapter members view it. And connect them. One of the big ways that we can get chapter members engaged and involved in coming back to your meetings is to believe in the process of getting them involved with their national team. And everybody on this webinar right now, at every national meeting I see, I always remind people we are all on the same team. And that's difficult to feel at times because, yes, we're very far away from each other. We're all across the country, and there's not always a great way of seeing what each other's doing. I think social media and communications is one of those best ways. So be that source. Be the source of showing your members not just what is everybody else doing, but what are you doing? Because this is your team too. What are we accomplishing for each other on the national level? What could we get involved with? Just by sending in an application, if you see something, if you post a deadline for the standing committee applications, ask one of the standing committee members for like a quote or a testimonial to see how it changed the way they saw pharmacy or whatever. That might be the little spark that inspires a chapter member to say, you know what, I can do that. That sounds awesome. And by doing that, you could really have the opportunity to change someone's entire career, or at least their academic career and then beyond, because the more you get connected, you really are getting connected to what is going to be your team for the rest of your life. Pharmacy is a small world. We're told that over and over again, and we have a very, very big academy. So the more people that we can connect with now, that's the more teammates we have for life. So that's a great, great goal for CDP is to connect your members to the bigger team and to make them feel a part of that bigger team. And wherever APhA-ASP is succeeding, be it on the national level with us or being on another chapter across the country, that's our team. Stay informed. You don't want to be a CDP who speaks about provider status, who speaks about the webinars, but doesn't actually know about them. It's easy to be a showman. Some people have that talent to maybe market something, but you got to know your stuff. And you also want them to know their stuff too. So, when we get a student pharmacist connection, I got to say my communications committee, and it's all on them. They did a terrific job of really rewiring that this year so that it's a really quick and educational source. When you get that in your email, look at it. Let your chapter members know that it's now in your email box, and this is not like every other email that you're getting. It's something special, and it can teach you something about what we're doing. Obviously, we talk about the opportunities, the webinars. Student Pharmacist Magazine is very special to me. So it's the first year it's been online. It's so easy right now to go read student pharmacists talking about unbelievable things that they're doing, sharing their incredible stories from what they're doing at their chapters or just in pharmacy alone, even if it's not APhA-ASP related. And every issue, there's just really amazing stories about student pharmacists that would blow your mind. And there's no reason not to be reading them now, and there's no reason not to be sharing them now to our chapter members. It's not that you share maybe every article, but if you read an article that you say, wow, this is something that my chapter's been trying to make happen, and these guys have done it, and these guys have done it in a way that really reaches their community, I've got to share this story. It's up right now. There's multiple issues up right now on pharmacist.com. You see the URL right there. Definitely be checking this out. Comes out obviously every 2 months, Student Pharmacist Magazine, and encourage your chapter members that if they see something that they've done that they want to write about, they can write to us. They can send us a quick email, and we can make it happen. So I think that's a great resource. We've underutilized at the moment. Keep people connected to Student Pharmacist Magazine. My key point for the inward connection, and this is a very difficult one sometimes to accept as a student pharmacist, but dream but don't idealize. We have got to see the bigger picture. Sometimes we want, obviously, we're only leaders for 1 year. We want things to work. But I'm telling you right now, especially in communications, things won't work. They'll fail over and over again. But that's okay, because we fail so we learn how to succeed, right? As long as we see every failure as an opportunity to learn about what went wrong, we'll eventually start doing things right more often than not. So don't be the one that gets discouraged. Be the one who inspires everybody else, that can always bring that perspective of, that's okay, we have to try different things. I know I tried that picture, it didn't work. That's fine. I can see what went wrong. I know I posted this time, nobody read it. That happens all the time for me on the APhA-ASP national page. I don't get discouraged. I learn about what didn't work about that time or that style of post at that time, and we correct it, and that's how we've had success. And so always be that one who brings it back to the message and matches the value. And to really say that the point is to believe in the process. If you're doing something that you believe is right and you're sharing the stories that you believe are best, keep finding the best avenues for them. Keep changing the avenues. And over time, you'll build a loyal following. There'll never be a post that just says, wow, every chapter member just goes, these guys are legit. It's going to be successes and successes over time. And over those successes, a lot of failures. But be the one that says, let's keep going in a positive direction. This year, we're going to have a CDP toolkit for you, so you're not going to be alone. Keep an eye out for this. It's going to be a really great toolkit that you guys can use, that we talk about how do you work with different chapter leaders or the policy vice president to talk about how can we incorporate policy and provider status into American Pharmacist Month and spread that message in a way that really speaks to audiences. Patient care project, working with your patient care vice president of where are the best ways that we can really talk about what you guys are doing on the patient care side, and that really speaks to our chapter members and to the public. And just different informational things you can about how to go around pharmacist.com, what's really great about our social media site, Student Pharmacist Magazine, what benefits can they have for you. So keep an eye out for that on pharmacist.com. I'd like to take this moment to announce the PharmFlix theme this year. It's going to be Voice Your Value. This is inspired by our national president, Nick Capote's Discover Your Voice. He's challenged us. But you know, it's one thing to discover your voice. It's a great first step. But then you have to voice your value. You have to say, okay, I got it. I see what talents I have that make me unique, that make me special. But now I've got to go use that voice. And that's what we're asking people to do this year in our PharmFlix competition is you found your voice, the CDPs, you help your chapter find your voice, and then help them say it. You know, you're going to be in charge of the PharmFlix. Any CDP will be in charge of the PharmFlix committee or in charge of submitting. Keep an eye out for all the new rules and deadlines. Most of it's going to be the same, the guidelines rather. We're still having the two categories. It's going to be humorous or informative, 90 seconds or less. It's going to be due December 1st. But early September, we're going to have those guidelines on pharmacist.com. But if you want to start thinking now about how you guys are going to voice your value, go right ahead. And that's the theme this year. And I can't wait to see the great videos that come out. Be a resource. Be a resource for the chapter membership. Be the one that people can go to and learn how to spread their message. Be a resource for your new practitioner mentors, your advisors, people that we don't actually always think about that we can help too, reach our chapter members and beyond. And us here on the national level, we can't do what we do unless you guys do a great job, because that's what we do, is spread your word. Anything that I post on the national page works because you guys have done a great job at it, because you guys have spread the message on the local level. So be a resource for us. I know that a lot of you out there, you might be some of the people that I reach out to all the time. I'm seeing unbelievable stories that you guys share, and I just have to message and say, how did you do this? How did this happen? Can I please share this to the rest of the nation? And I think a lot of people are taken aback, like, you want to share this? And it's not me just being like, you know, oh, I should share something in the chapters. It's, people have got to see this. Y'all do a great job, and the CDPs are the people down our local level will start seeing this and recognizing it. So definitely send things our way that we can, that will help us really show the rest of the nation what you guys are doing. One last reminder, all of this is about reaching our members, to inspire them, to empower them, to hear them, and then to help them be heard. Stay motivated, stay positive, always focus on message. That's the CDP's bottom line. Help your chapter members and always yourself in everything, even the small thing from a chapter event to the award support, to the papers that we send in. There's a message in all of it. Find that message. I always like to show the APhA-ASP mission statement in my ending. Always remember to connect back to this, because sometimes we forget the mission statement because everybody has a mission statement and we don't always read it. But always keep this in mind. Always keep this in your heart and relate your activities and what you're doing back to this, and that we're trying to not just create an opportunity for ourselves, but we're always trying to unite and help others. Hear and be heard. I know it's a tough role. Communications vice president is very different. You have to discover your voice first, but then you have to help people discover theirs. That is the big task, really, of the CDPs, is really getting other people to be willing to spread their message and to find what really is about their stories that can speak to other people, because that's what we can't do sometimes as student pharmacists, is we don't always see where we're great. We don't always see where we would speak to others. We often are our own, toughest judges. CDP, see the stories, help them see it, discover your own voice, but then leave a trail. Let other people follow your footsteps in finding the message, be that resource, and help them be heard. Stay in touch with us. If you need any help, you need any tips, you have an idea, you want to know what another chapter has done that has worked or hasn't worked, or you just want to bounce an idea off of us, this is what we're here for. We want to work with communications all around the country, not on the national, just on the national level. We want to help you guys reach your members and really start getting your plan together to be a great CDP in your chapter. This is our Communications Standing Committee. You want to screenshot it now, but of course you can always just send an email to one of us or just message us on Facebook even, and we're going to get back to you. I really appreciate all your time tonight. I hope that you got something out of this. I know that the CVP is sometimes a more abstract position, especially compared to some of the other duties we've had in the past of APhA-ASP and certainly a lot of the other roles. But this is a position that's extremely needed, because we have been for years doing unbelievable things on the chapter that have been just having immediate value, but then the message didn't last. And this is how we make our value last, and how we have it accumulate and have it be heard, and have other people not just saying, wow, student pharmacists are good, but believing in us and supporting us, and eventually thinking we should be in more places. It starts with communications and message-based communications at that, and in that way, it starts with you, the communications vice president. Thanks so much, guys.
Wow, Brian, thank you so much. This is Virginia. I just want to say thanks. I think we all got our little motivation for the evening about staying motivated and staying on message. I do have a couple of questions from the audience, so I'll go ahead and ask those questions and answer them as well. First of all, someone wants to know where they can find the recorded version of the webinar and when will it be posted. I'll go ahead and answer that question right now. All webinars will be posted next week, and you can go to pharmacist.com /APhA-ASP to see where all the webinars will be posted. So we'll have those posted for the entire webinar week starting next week. The next question is, where will the PharmFlix information be found in September? Brian, would you like to answer that, or would you like me to?
You can go right ahead, Virginia.
Okay. The PharmFlix information will also be found on the same page on the pharmacist.com /APhA-ASP homepage, and there'll be information there about PharmFlix rules and regulations. And I think the biggest tip for PharmFlix is when you are compiling any forms, please make sure that you get anyone that's in your video. That's just the biggest tip from last year, and it's something we're really highlighting this year from PharmFlix. Is anyone that's in your video needs to have a consent form. So if they can be made out in the video, they do need to have a consent form. That's the one tip we're really pushing on for this year, for 2015. Are there any, let's see here, the next question I have from Eileen Hang is there a list of social media links for all chapters?
Hi, Eileen. Eileen and I have talked at length before. It's good to hear from you. Eileen is a great writer herself. Eileen, there is not a definitive list. I do have a list myself that I keep, but I can't actually say that we have at this time a definitive list of every Facebook and active Facebook at that, because the problem is there's been a lot of chapters who've created different Facebooks over the years as they've switched leadership. So as of now, no, but I will say that it is very, very, very easy to find APhA-ASP chapter Facebook pages just by searching for APhA-ASP. There aren't many of those in the world, APhA-ASP, so if you click, if you type in APhA-ASP in the Facebook search bar, the way Facebook search works now is you'll have a bunch of lists of different searches you can do. Just look for the one that says groups with pages rather, that has APhA-ASP, and that way you won't get all the groups and you won't get all the kind of albums and such like that. You'll just get the pages that are APhA-ASP. You'll see the ones that are active. You'll see the ones that are have a lot of active followers. So it's very easy to find them, I'll say. And if you ever want to know if a specific chapter has, honestly, if you type in APhA-ASP, the name of that chapter, Facebook, it's going to pop up right away if they have it. That's how I found all of mine. And of course, if you really wanted a specific chapter, you could always contact me too. But they should be very, very easy to find. But it's very hard to find a definitive list of everyone out there. So fortunately, not exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. There is one helpful tip that I'm going to pass on to all the participants to all the attendees on this webinar. It's very important. This past year, we made a change into the way APhA-ASP operates. We changed the way that chapter officers communicated the new executive committee to APhA-ASP. Before, any officer could fill out a form site and just put in who was the new officer position. Starting in July of this year, we've transitioned that only the primary chapter advisor can go on to their pharmacist.com profile and select who the new executive committee leaders are. So it's imperative, I do implore you to talk to your chapter advisor and make sure that they've actually updated the information for the 2014-2015 academic year, because if we don't have anyone on file for you, that means we cannot communicate with your chapter for any officer positions. So again, I do ask that you talk to your chapter advisor, make sure that they actually have inputted your chapter executive committee information on their pharmacist.com profile, because if they're a chapter advisor, that means they have full access to your roster and can access membership lists and also assign executive committee positions. So that's my one helpful tip for this position. There are no further questions. If you have any further questions, something strikes you, please feel free to email Brian or any of the communications vice president, or any of the communications standing committee. Oh, one last question just came in from Josephine. What information would be needed to update executive names and email? All they just need to know, Josephine, for updating your chapter executive committee is your first name and last name and what position that you have, because they can access all of the other information quite easily. If there are, let's say that there are 2 Jane Does in your chapter, it would probably be good to know their middle initial, so that way if there are 2 people with the same first and last name, they can go ahead and pull that, they can differentiate between the person. But that's a great question. But that is only the primary chapter advisor can do that. Co-advisors do not have access to assign chapter executive committee positions, only to the primary chapter advisor. All right, so that pretty much ends our webinar. So again, if you have any questions, Brian and the Communications Standing Committee are always there for you. They're a great team, and so I just want to congratulate them on a great webinar. And all of you have a great evening. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.